want to start? Just tell us a little bit about yourself, where you came from, and kind of, what you and your company's about.
Yeah. So we are a husband and wife team. We're Nestrs. And I guess we kind of evolved over the years. We started out actually as two different entities. Nick was a handyman, real estate agent, and I was a professional organizer. Before that, I was an actor, which is, another lifetime.
Really?
Yeah. But that's why we were in New York City. So, and we just recently moved to Columbus. But then we actually got on an HGTV show and survived, to tell the tale.
Both professionally and personally.
Really?
And we're still married, so there's that.
So what show was that? Can you tell us more about that?
Yeah, it was called Beach Flip. It aired in the summer of 2015.
Yeah, we flipped a beach house in Gulf Shores, Alabama.
Which, you guys, it's a hidden gem.
Yeah.
Okay.
Beautiful white sand beaches and
These properties are on the Gulf.
Okay.
They were gorgeous. Yeah. And they put us in a bubble for 8 weeks, and we couldn't call anyone. We couldn't talk to anybody.
took our cell phones away.
Yes.
Really?
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
Oh, my goodness.
It's an interesting experiment.
Wow.
But we rocked it. And at the time, I was just an organizer, and I was still acting a little bit. But Nick was an agent, and you were, or were you working at Google then still?
Nope. I had just left Google, and, you were I was starting my business.
That's right.
And you were kind of pulling the...
I was pulling the weight,
Yeah.
But then, so we got back and we were like, you know what? We survived that. We rocked it. We really had a lot of fun. There were tears, don't get me wrong. But
there were a lot of tears.
listen, they delivered granite when I clearly ordered quartz. I was upset.
Really? That bad?
I mean, when you're under a microscope, it's, your emotions are high, and they know that.
And, we were working 14-hour days.
Yes.
Everyone was exhausted. We were in a foreign environment, working with strangers. So I
Trying to
think
make
that
it work.
played into some of the drama.
Right.
Yeah, absolutely.
Are you very like conscious of the camera being on you and like, oh, I can't act like this because I don't want people to see me this way or anything like that?
That's me.
Yeah.
I think Sarah's a natural because she's been in performing like her whole life.
But wouldn't you say after a while, like we were just so focused on getting the task done?
Maybe that was our strategy. We were so tired that we stopped noticing the camera.
Yeah.
But like the first
Yeah.
couple weeks, it was certainly an adjustment.
Very aware of them. Yeah.
I mean, you're waking up at 6 a.m. and literally there's a camera in your face in your bed. So I started learning, and I went to bed with like my hair brushed.
Oh my goodness.
I was like, this is gonna end my career before it even starts. But so we got back, and like my professional organizing was taking off. I feel like your stuff was taking off, and I kept hiring him.
And I kept hiring her.
So then we just like, let's just join forces.
Perfect.
And that's kind of how Nestrs was born. And then we started taking like little jobs and
Well, the show was kind of proof that we A, could work together, and B, we could do larger projects. So we started doing bathrooms, we started doing kitchens, we started doing apartments, and there were a lot of growing pains.
So, I mean, New York City is another beast. Like, just think of like how you get drywall up to the 40th floor. It's
Sure.
And you can't start work until 9 a.m. and you have to
Be out by 4:30.
and pay the supervisor with coffee and money and smiles
And
to like not give you a hard time.
$2 million insurance policy just to get in the door.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Even
40
for handyman jobs,
Yeah.
like it's yeah.
$40 a day to park the truck.
We used to hire someone to sit in the truck while we unloaded the drywall.
Because
Wow.
it was about the same price to have a helper to also help unload.
Oh my gosh, it's a whole nother world.
It really is. And we spent a lot of the time just with those logistics, and it kind of took away from we really love design. Like we now know how to, we can put in baseboards and hang crown and all those great things, but
You could do more than I can.
I mean, well, of course I can. That's kind of like where that started. But in the meantime, we actually bought a home in Queens, Astoria, and we had no idea what we were doing.
We had no idea what an awesome neighborhood that was and was becoming, which is
All we knew was to buy the smallest, ugliest house in the block.
Right.
That's the only rule about real estate I knew. Up to that point, my goal was like get on Broadway, like whatever. And so I'll never forget going to see the property. And then I was like, Nick, this is it. So it had a door to the front, to the living room, but you could also take a door down to the basement and enter the basement. It wasn't a duplex; it was single family. But the whole time I was like, oh, we could have a roommate. In New York, you always have roommates.
Right.
So like, I feel like everyone in New York has like a landlord mindset and they don't even know it. So I was like, Nick, we could do this. Like, I feel like the mortgage would be this much. Our roommate would pay this. Like, we could do this.
the basement was the first project for us, and
Yes.
it's funny too because it needed a lot of work. There was termite damage. When I pulled up the flooring, I discovered that there was no foundation. There was
Just dirt.
It was dirt.
Really?
Just dirt.
Yep.
So we got our shovels out and we literally started digging.
Oh my
The
goodness.
basement walls are like castle walls, so they're like 3 feet thick, and the entire structure is just on the footprint of the property. But it was a learning experience, and I did it myself. I mean, we did it ourselves.
Nick has his master's degree in architecture, so I was like, and he put himself through school by hanging drywall. So I was like, oh, you can do this, right? Like, you know how to, like, lower a basement floor and put in radiant heating.
Oh my
and
goodness.
Frame out a basement. No, you
YouTube
don't
was
know
my
how?
friend. So I taught myself several new trades, and we knocked it out in 6 months?
Yeah, we did. We did the whole house pretty much. But then, then we had a roommate. But then Airbnb came around, and I have a hospitality background as an actor. You also bartend on the side,
Right.
Or sometimes you bartend full time. And
Well, I was against Airbnb because I didn't feel. So this was 2010, and I was like, and we were just talking about at that point. And one of our good friends, Jeremy, had an apartment. He was Airbnb the other bedroom, and he actually asked you to go over and.
He's like, "Can you reset my Airbnb?" I was like, "You're what?" He's like, "Yeah, I've got guests coming." I was like, "I don't understand." In New York, like, you go on Craigslist and you find temporary housing all the time. Like,
Okay.
that's not
Right.
So that's what I thought it was.
And I didn't want strangers coming to my house every day, like 5 new strangers a week. I'm like, we live here, honey.
I
Right.
know. But I went over and I changed the bed, and then I noticed like he didn't have any art in the walls or water at the side of the table. So I like went and like got all those little things, and I made a little, hotel overnight stay. And he was like, "Thank you for that." And so yeah, I feel like we just rambled a long time.
You were like, we're doing an Airbnb.
Yeah.
So when
Yeah.
our roommates decided to get their own place, we're like, all right, let's give it a shot.
Yeah.
And
But Airbnb was still new, so we didn't know what we were doing.
it took
Like most things in our life.
It took years to figure out systems that we have now, and
Not years, but it took a minute. Yeah. Yeah. So yeah,
we did find that a well-oiled machine paid for our entire mortgage for that property, which was at the time like $3,000 a month.
for 600 square feet of.
So you were living, basically you had no living expense for as far as housing.
Correct. Yeah, we cash flowed a couple months, a couple $100,
Yeah.
which was kind of cool.
That's awesome.
And we were able to finally take a vacation.
What?
And I could focus on building a business, and
Yeah, it was pretty cool.
yeah, it was a blessing.
Yeah, it was.
Wow, that's great. So that was your first one. So where did it go from there? Did you guys buy more from there, or did you manage some for other people, or how did that grow?
Oh, we wanted to buy that. So being in real estate, I was like, we got to get some more properties.
Well, we started learning. So we started listening to podcasts. He's like, you got to read Rich Dad Poor Dad. So I was like, okay. And like, I started understanding what it meant because I had no idea. Like,
Bigger
and then we
Pockets.
started getting obsessed.
Bigger Pockets became my new favorite TV
That was
show.
our new. Yeah, that was my next college degree. We got obsessed. Like, we would be painting baseboards and listening to as many podcasts as we could.
We also quickly found that from a traditional standpoint, we were already over leveraged with, a $500,000 property that we bought in New York City, and we couldn't afford to get something else. And I didn't have the network at the time to work with private lenders or be creative in that type of financing. So we had a good year in design and construction, and we decided to leave the city we loved so much.
To see if we couldn't stretch our dollar.
So we bought a truck and an RV, and we started traveling around the country, and we researched several cities. We were on the West Coast for a couple months.
Big mistake.
For what reason?
It's just as expensive as Queens was.
I had no
Sure.
idea Seattle was just as expensive as Queens. And
Yeah.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah.
But I love it out there, and we actually have family out there, so we do visit. But after all of our research, looking at population, growth statistics.
If you want to know the elevation of any city in the U.S., Nick could tell you. Nick could tell you.
Columbus was kind of was not on our list.
No.
We were looking at all the Austin, Denver, all the cities that were actually kind of priced out.
Indianapolis was where we were right before we came to Columbus.
Yeah, and I love Indiana. I was born in Indiana, but I didn't really get a good vibe there. And we came to Columbus to visit my best friend who lives here, and we saw this amazing duplex in Grandview. Actually, what really got you was German Village.
No, yeah, I am obsessed with coffee, and we came into Columbus, and I was like, "Can we get coffee first?" I was like, "Okay." put in coffee shop, and we drove up through German Village to Stoff's, and like the brick streets totally tugged at my heart, and I was like, wait a minute, where are we? And he's like, this is Columbus. We met college at Kent State, and I had never come down to Columbus to hang out or party or anything. So like it was my first time, and I was impressed.
And I think the price points here, at least at the time, because it's starting to get expensive in Columbus.
About a year and a half ago, yeah.
Yeah.
We got a fourplex for half the price of what we were looking at in Portland, Oregon.
And the rents weren't.
Rents were about the same.
Yeah.
Which blows my mind.
Right.
Yeah.
So yeah, we put an offer in. We couldn't believe it got accepted, and that was like, well, I guess we're coming to Columbus. So that's kind of how that happened.
Awesome.
That's
It's
great.
funny you say Stoff's too, because Brian's a big coffee guy. And we did a flip in Grandview, a couple streets away from Stoff's, and I think we went about every day.
Yeah, we
because
would go over there, and
Nice.
that place is always
we
packed.
We
too.
didn't even have to go to the flip. We're like, well, I guess we better
gotta
go
go to
check it out.
Stoff's.
Stop by Stoff's.
Yes, I love coffee shops. They're my weakness.
That is our, well, we're currently looking for an office space, but that is our office as of now.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So do you guys live in that fourplex right now?
So it's kind of funny. So there's 4 apartments, and when we inherited it, it was full. We had one gentleman who was a hoarder, and we knew that we had to figure out an agreement of some sort.
Great guy.
Awesome, really nice guy. But he decided that it actually would be good for him if he kind of made a life change. He'd been there for 20 years, paying way under
Oh
market
my
value.
gosh. I was looking at the lease. He's like $475. Market value is like $1,200.
In Grandview.
Yeah. So that was actually, we were really nervous about that because again, you'd understand like we didn't really have any long-term tenant experience. We had only Airbnb experience and then like roommate experience.
Right.
So then he left, and then actually while we were under contract, there was some water issues that no one told us about. And the tenant in one of our apartments moved out in the middle of the night because she was just tired of the landlord not taking care of things. So she was gone. And then we had 2 other tenants left. The one girl kind of heard us working on one of the apartments. She's like, are you guys renovating? We were like, yeah. She's like, okay, I'm going to go. We were like, okay.
And honestly,
Sounds pretty easy.
It
Yeah.
was very easy.
Yeah, so far.
and I didn't want to kick anyone out. We were
No.
honored all leases, but if they wanted to leave, we're ready to renovate.
Yeah. So, but you know, you have to remember, like we didn't have a mentor at the time. Really, it was Bigger Pockets and Robert Kiyosaki, and they didn't even know it. So we were just trying to figure it out, and we would stay in whatever apartment we were working in at the time. So kind of, they call it house hacking, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, so we were doing that, but we also had our RV. So when the weather was good, we stayed in the RV. And then when winter came, we kind of just jumped from project to project within the fourplex. We didn't know anybody in Columbus, so we didn't have trusted contractors or
I wish we
friends.
would have documented some of this a little bit better because, like, we're sleeping on mattresses on the floor, in construction zones. Like, it's hysterical.
But yeah, that's a little bit behind us now. We've kind of got so we've been here a year and a half now.
Yeah. And now, as of now, 3 of them are Airbnbs, and we still have our one original tenant who is fantastic.
He's a star.
Really?
Yes.
And he's paying under market value, but we raised his rent a little bit.
But the Airbnbs are doing so well.
Yeah.
It's fine.
So
you
until
know?
we're really ready, I'm kind of like, what's best for you? Like,
live
Yeah.
your life.
So do you guys still have your house in New York?
No, so that's how we were able to do all this.
Okay.
I guess we skipped that part. We sold it
Yeah.
way over market value. The investor who bought it wanted to buy all of our furnishings and then turn it into an Airbnb.
Oh,
which is
perfect.
Which is a future business model for us.
Yeah.
People are doing it. You can see it now, like, highly profitable Airbnb, furnished, ready to go. It's like a business.
Really?
It is a business. So, so that's how we were able to do all this. Now we look back, and now what we know now, like we probably could have kept that property and figured out how to still do everything.
Have 2 Airbnbs.
Yep. And of course,
Yes.
it's a quarter mile from the new proposed Amazon.
Yes.
Oh,
Oh,
okay.
really?
Oh yeah, we thought that investor he did overpay at the time, but now he's like laughing all the way to the
Oh
bank.
yeah, he did well, but you know what?
Hindsight's 2020, and we learned so much. So what can we do?
And we also bought a property in Schumacher. It's a cute cottage, 3-bedroom, 2-bath, and on 2 intersecting brick streets with a private backyard. So that is going to be that's this year's project. So that'll be an Airbnb in about 7
Yeah,
months.
I'm really hoping it'll be an ADA compliant Airbnb.
Yeah,
which
because
is
we're right
really
by the
cool.
hospital. Yeah.
Yeah. So yes,
That
but
could be really big. I mean, people come into the hospital, they've got their kids there. That could be huge.
Yeah, the Ron McDonald House is actually pretty small.
Yeah.
And I thought that could just be a really great way to. Here's the thing: Airbnb is getting really competitive.
Yeah.
Which is great.
Yeah, it's great. A lot of our business actually is just consulting. People just have questions really quick or whatever. Or some people want hand holding. But I just either it's because we're focusing on it, so it seems like everyone's doing it, or
Right.
everyone is actually doing it.
Right.
But it's not like it was when we started in 2010 anymore. So
We've noticed if you do it, the model right, and there's several factors and algorithms that place you at the top of the list when people are searching for a place to stay, that you can make twice the market rate for a long-term lease.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So what do you find? I assume expenses are probably a little bit higher. I mean, you got to furnish the place. You got to make repairs on all the furnishings, cleaning, resetting. So what are you finding as far as expenses, as compared to maybe a longer term situation?
Now, obviously, it's more of an investment up front, especially. So that's why I believe it's a long-term game. It's not really like a get-rich-quick situation, at least in my experience. There are people who just kind of throw a couch in there and a table, and they do pretty well for themselves. We are designers, and I also come from a hospitality background, so like I like to do all the amenities and what have you. But I think I get a different clientele in there too. So I think our price reflects that.
Sure, it's a little more hands-on, but we've also created some systems. We have cleaners now, and I was scrubbing toilets in the beginning. I got pretty good at cleaning bathrooms.
He's my bathroom guy.
She's like, no, I'll do everything.
I'll
you do the
bed,
bathroom.
you do the bathroom.
Yep.
But yeah, so we've learned where to shop. Like Costco and Sam's Club is a better deal than Amazon. And if you can get it 6 months worth of supplies, even better. Have a supply closet, even better. If you can have 3 Airbnbs under one roof, even better.
I think this satisfies the itch that Sarah had. She has a creative side and sometimes when you work with a client, you do what the client wants, and that's fine. If it's a great client, I'll do whatever you want. The thing is that sometimes you want to do what you want, and this allows us to do that. So we can make each of our spaces how we want to make it and rent it out and show the world.
Right.
But so there's a bigger income stream from Airbnb. Especially, I like that we actually have 1 bedroom, 1 baths. They're more flexible. We don't worry as much about parties or anything happening that's weird because we have smaller spaces.
Right.
1 night stays are much more common than if you have an entire home.
I also think a lot of things that scares some new investors, which are the up-and-coming neighborhoods. We don't necessarily shop there. We're shopping in established neighborhoods. Maybe not your the best neighborhoods in the city, but I mean, Grandview's a wonderful, wonderful place to live and visit, and so is Schumacher Place and German Village.
Right.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So, but and Airbnb culture is you have a cleaning fee. So usually there are a wide array of people who will clean and turn over your spaces. I learned early on that I wanted to train them to make hotels like a pink bed like you would make in a hotel. And it's not just cleaning a place like you have a cleaner come over and clean your home. They lift up the clutter and they clean underneath it. Like you have to refluff the pillows. You have to reset the remote control so it's it's easy to find. All that kind of stuff. But usually the market value cleaning fee is higher than what someone would ask for to turn over the space, and that helps us pay for the amenities too. So we pay them a fair living wage, whatever they ask. Obviously, they're contracted employees or contracted workers, and usually the leftover $5 or $10 a turnover goes to the coffees and the water and that sort of thing. And we do a whole little amenity basket where like we'll offer clear nail polish, a toothbrush, a razor. People rarely take from those baskets, but I think they just love that they're there.
Right.
So our basic expense really is K-cups, coffee.
Yeah, if you're staying at one of our properties, you can expect any amenity that you would have in your house. So you can work, you can watch internet, TV, you'll be comfortable. There's going to be a nice bed that's well made. You can cook, and
So you have like Netflix and
Yep.
Amazon Prime,
Yep.
all those kind of things.
Yep, Prime, HBO, all that stuff.
Well, we don't. So we have a smart TV, so they can log into their HBO and stuff. But we offer Netflix,
Hulu.
Hulu, and Amazon Prime. We don't offer cable, and we say that in our listing. Like, there's no cable. And that's another thing too with, anyone listening who's interested in Airbnb. It's just as important to list your pros about the property as it is listing the cons. If you say right up front, like 2 of ours are upstairs, like you have to be able to walk upstairs and know that in the winter they're slippery. Or in New York, we lived right under a highway. Hey, just so you know, we live under a highway. There are earplugs for your convenience, but that way there's no surprises when they arrive, and there's less likely that you'll get a ding on the review.
Right. Good tip.
Nice.
So what about I was curious, the one tenant that hasn't left, how does he feel about the other 3 units, people coming and going all the time? Doesn't bother him at all?
No, he's super easygoing, never late on his rent.
You guys,
I've actually kind of walked away from the whole situation, and he has not let us down.
Yeah, he's great. And we've asked him too, like, we don't make him responsible for anything, but please let us know if you're ever disturbed or you feel there's any issues. But again, I'm very clear too in our listing, like, young professionals live and work in here. The quiet hours from 8 p.m. to 8 a.m. We have yet to have a problem. So, he stays in communication with us, and yeah, everything's open and honest policy. So
yeah,
great.
He did suggest he's going to be leaving.
He wants to buy a house.
Yeah, so he's shopping.
Okay.
I suspect he'll be gone by spring, but yeah, whatever.
Sounds good.
So I think the hotel industry in general is not really for these sort of short-term rentals, and it's a pretty unregulated situation. And what do you guys think about that? What do you guys pay attention to the laws, and what do you think things are going to change in Columbus in respect to that?
Yeah, actually a little pitch for ourselves. We actually are starting on our YouTube channel a weekly Airbnb news update. I think it's important to stay informed in that regard. Actually, some hotels are just, since they can't beat us, they're joining us. And which is scary for Nick and myself, because we're, right now we're smaller operation, but they're I think I don't remember what brand it is, but they have a whole short-term rental brand themselves. There's a higher end, quote unquote, Airbnb type place called Oasis, and I think they partnered with Hyatt. That could be very wrong, but so they're managing the property because it's the wild, wild west with short-term rentals. Like, you're going to a place that's most likely run by mom and pop,
Right.
So now there are professional managers and property manager teams that are doing it and then working hand in hand with hotels. And I know in Columbus, when we moved here, right away there was regulation.
We were at city council meetings.
Yeah, right away.
Speaking.
We were like, we left New York because New York was also getting, a lot of heat with the short-term rental
And now there are a
situation.
lot of regulations there, but
Well, they're trying, but the thing is, when you sign up with Airbnb, they have privacy policies in place. So it's a fine line what they're willing to share with the city.
Sure.
So if people aren't being honest about their listings, then the city would have to go in and see where the listing's located to find out who's paying the taxes and who's not, or who's paying the permits and who's not.
I think that's why Superhost and Airbnb Plus are two feathers in your cap that really set you apart from other Airbnbs, and why you can really make a lot of money there. Whereas sometimes Airbnbs are not for everybody. It's not for the investor who wants to have truly passive income.
What do those two terms mean? Superhost.
Yeah,
And
so number one, that's a good tip if you're a listener and you are a guest at an Airbnb and you maybe had a bad experience. One thing I say is to set your filter when you're searching to Superhost right away, and then maybe even to Airbnb Plus if the city has that. So Superhost is, I think, kind of easy to get, but it kind of sets you apart from the hosts who don't go above and beyond for their guests. You have to have 5-star reviews that quarter and never had canceled. So it's a quarterly based review system that Airbnb does with people who have listings. And if you are awarded Superhost status, you get a little badge on your listing. And I think that really should be the base for when you're looking to stay at some places, to look for a Superhost, because then they care about getting those 5-star reviews and listening to any critiques they get from past guests. And then Airbnb Plus, which actually just arrived in Columbus, they're right now doing interviews of hosts to see if they're eligible. Right now it's invitation only, but soon you'll be able to apply. And you have a photographer who's trained by Airbnb come in and scour your place and look for fine furnishings. You have to have, 2 pillows per guest. You have to have...
There's 101 points that are very specific that will set you apart and elevate you and make it a comfortable experience for the guests.
It's good for your Airbnb listing juju too. Like, Airbnb has its own algorithm, right? So when you go search for a property, like, how do you get to the top? So that will certainly help too. But it's just another way for you to get the riffraff, because it is still the wild, wild west, obviously. And if you're a guest, it's a great way to guarantee you'll have a nice stay.
Interesting. Yeah. Seems like you would want that if you were a host.
Yes.
And you almost don't want others to have it.
Yes.
You know, you say you think a base would be everybody's a superhost, but then superhost means nothing.
Right. And actually, there's still some people who are not superhosts yet. Honestly, so Airbnb used to be so strict about cancellations that if you canceled once on a guest, you lose your superhost status for a whole year. So I do know some awesome hosts who had to, like, let's say like a pipe burst. It happened to us once. And Airbnb is getting much better about being understanding. I mean, it's still a house, and if things happen,
Right.
people can't stay. Like, there's nothing we can do about it as homeowners. But
I think as homeowners though, as Airbnb hosts, we're putting, because we're cash flowing a little bit more, we're putting more back into the property.
yes.
So if we're not renovating it completely, we're at least making it super comfortable, updating the fixtures and new furnishings.
Right.
Yeah.
I know we looked at pictures, assuming you're the units in the Grandview one, and I mean, like some of the cabinets weren't necessarily replaced, but with all of the, like you said, fixtures and I guess different things you put on there, I mean, it just looks fantastic.
Yeah.
It looks cozy, it looks comfortable, and
It's very clean. Like, we're very, so we have a lot of systems, like Nick was saying, to make sure that our cleaners are even cleaning per our standards. And there's an app you can use where, like, they have to take pictures before they turn it over, and then after they turn over, and during the process they have to checklist off things. And so don't forget the baseboard's under the bed. You hate when you go to a hotel and you look under the bed and it's disgusting. Like, that doesn't fly in my units. The cabinets, even though they're old, they get scrubbed down. We have quarterly deep cleans. Like, this stuff just matters to me.
Right.
And yeah, and it's helped with our bottom line too, I think.
So I heard you say a little while ago that you do some consulting, and so what other sort of businesses are you guys doing besides renting short-term rentals?
Yeah, so we have a whole other thing. So we own all of our Airbnbs, but I also what they call co-host. So if someone wants to be in the Airbnb game, but they don't necessarily want to manage themselves, I do a lot of that for them. There's actually even some landlords or investors who want nothing to do with making the extra income, but what they want are reliable tenants. So they want a super host, to be their tenant who is going to clean their property 2 or 3 times a week. There's, we're going to have a no pet situation. And then they can invest in nicer neighborhoods, knowing that for me to furnish it and put all that investment up front, I need to have that property for at least 2 years, so there's less vacancy rates. So that's another thing that I do.
It's a great model for larger buildings because you always have a couple units that are empty depending on where you're located. We keep it full, and actually, if we're at 80% occupancy for the month, we're making our money and you're making yours, and it's still not getting as much wear and tear as you would see with a full-time tenant.
So I'm not sure I understand what you're talking about. So you're renting an apartment from someone and then turning that into an Airbnb for them. And you are just paying their monthly rent.
Full disclosure, they know exactly what's happening.
Yep.
In some cases, we even partner up. But we're kind of finding our groove here. We're seeing that signing a lease with the property owner, letting them know we're going to be operating a business. We're having it professionally cleaned at least once a week. No pet policy. We're going to take care of all the fixes that you might have to normally deal with. As a handyman, I'll just knock that stuff out because we want to be a little as a headache to you as possible. And then you get your rent always, and we get to profit off of
whatever's left.
Yeah.
And some people want in on the Airbnb profit margin. The only thing with that is they want to be hands off, but they want the extra income. And like we said before, Airbnb is if you do it right, there are systems you can put in place, but someone needs to attend to the guests that are coming in.
Sure.
And that's how you make more money. So it just depends on what you're looking for as either an investor or a homeowner. And I will train people to just do it themselves because there are ways to do it yourselves where it's not a headache. So yeah, but then other than that, we work with investors who aren't in town, out-of-town investors who want help with being boots in the ground. That's kind of Nick's.
So I help with tax abatement. I go through a process and make sure that they're doing. I love the city, right? And I want to see quality flips. I don't want to go in a neighborhood and like, oh, what are they doing? And it hurts everybody. So I try to keep the quality up. I connect them with superstars in the industry. great real estate agents, and everyone that needs to be part of that team in order to flip the house.
Sometimes it's simple. It's just they have a good GC, or maybe they don't have a good GC, and you kind of you're that third party.
Sometimes a GC will take pictures and they look great, but they're doing certain angles, and I'll come in and I'll take pictures of everything, so you see exactly what's going on. And then I give you a report. I go, this is what I think is happening. The guys seem like they're on top of their work. I told them a couple things that they want to fix because I've done this in the past.
So it's kind of like a project manager.
Yeah, I don't give myself that title. I'm a consultant. But yeah, I do all the functions of a project manager for the most part, whatever they need. And sometimes it's as simple as me going to the store and picking out finishes for them. Like, we're not going to go with boob lights and biller grade stuff. We want to put something that's a little bit nicer in there. Even if it's a low level granite or quartz, it still needs to be the right material and the right look. So
So what does that typically cost? I mean, what do you charge for that kind of a service?
So if you just need me once, it's $250, and that gives you a couple hours with me, and I go through it all. And every time after that's $250. I take on about 5 investors right now. I have 4, so I can take on 1 more, and then I'm done. I'll be at capacity, but they have a monthly fee that I charge just for me to be on your books, and then I'm $50 an hour, whatever you need.
Yeah. And then I'm over here, I like occupied staging. And I think actually when you said like the cabinets aren't that great looking, but the space looks cozy, I like to say I have a knack for that. So if you're trying to sell your home and you still live there, and we want to make it look as great as possible for the market, that's kind of my niche. I also do a lot of professional organizing. And if Nick has his background in architecture, and he used to be a space planner for Google. So if you're redoing your kitchen or your bathroom, he'll help you lay it out so that it makes sense, the functionality makes sense.
I do floor plans and renderings, and that also translates into my clients, whether it's a homeowner or an investor.
And then he'll pass it on to me, and I'll help them pick out finishes if they need the help. Sometimes they just want, a concept board where they can shop this stuff themselves, and then that's all they need. Great. If they want handheld, that's cool too.
So if we design something and you love the look, Sarah will then find it at an affordable price point and make it a reality.
Right. That's great, like complementing businesses there.
Yes, yeah. And then all that income goes right back into our pot to buy another property for Airbnb.
Yeah. Right. And I was going to ask, where do you get most of your clients? I know you guys are awesome at social media. Is it that, or is it networking? You guys do advertising, or where do most of these people find you?
It's mostly social media. And I think that is the future. If you're any business owner is a marketer. Whatever you do in life, you got to market, and I think that's where it's all going, is all these social media platforms.
Yeah. So when we first moved here, we didn't know anybody. We had his friend who's not in real estate or design or anything. So what we had was an Instagram account. And so we just leveraged that. So we just got on Instagram stories, talked about what we did, showed people what we were doing in our fourplex. And I would say last year, 85% of our clients found us on Instagram, which was free for us. Now, could we have taken on more? Yes. So obviously networking and meeting people has been really helpful for us.
Well, last year was interesting because Columbus was a pit stop for us. We were going to buy the fourplex and go to, we were looking at.
That's true too, yeah.
At Birmingham, actually, because we just wanted to kind of be hippies and travel in our RV. But I think Columbus is going to be our home. Yeah. We still need to buy
our own home. That's next year, maybe a duplex that we can actually
You're
live
still
in.
living in the RV?
Yeah, we're living in the RV. Right now we're living in the single family that we bought.
Okay. Right now we're in the single family because it's cold outside.
Yeah.
But that thing has tiles falling off the wall in the middle of the night. I mean, we are house hacking to the core. We're still, we have big plans. We've got a clear vision, but, we're trying to do it right.
I think the decision to stay, which just recently happened this year, like last month, we're now, instead of seeing what happens, we're now doubling down, looking for office space, hiring an intern, and really putting in 14-hour days, which is different. Yeah.
That's great. I love hearing it, and I love seeing people succeed and go after their dreams and visions. So congrats to you guys.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you.
I think you guys told me, or maybe you guys talked about it when you did the presentation at the Coin meeting. You guys were renting out the RV and driving it to the fairground. Can you tell? I mean, I just thought that was an awesome story about how you can literally Airbnb anything.
Yeah. So that's our 4th Airbnb right now. what platform we use?
Okay, so actually Airbnb just rolled out something where if your RV is stationary, let's say you built a deck around it and it's living in your backyard, you can now list that on Airbnb. But there's another two platforms. One is called Outdoorsy, one is called RV Share. And it's just that either people can come and pick up your RV and take it on a trip.
Really?
Yes. Or, I mean, we're city folks, so we had no idea that there are campgrounds like
Everywhere.
within,
Yeah.
Ohio is actually
people like camping.
Central Ohio is a gem. I love Columbus. Hocking Hills is beautiful.
Yeah.
I mean,
But even like in the city, people are taking our RV and to like
all the campgrounds.
Yeah, all the campgrounds.
Yeah.
So Nick will
Or fairs.
Yeah, Nick will talk to the person. This is a little bit more involved because it's a big movable home.
Yeah.
Mostly we like to take it to the person. We'll set it up for you. You camp there for however long, and then we'll pick it up.
I would
bring
say
it home.
it's even more hands-on, and even more can go
Yes.
wrong with an RV.
Yes.
However, an RV costs so we have a 37-foot trailer, and it has a toy hauler and it's great, and it's $40,000. Where a house is 10 times that if you're looking for a multifam or something
Right.
But one rental gets us about what, 1,100?
for a week.
Yeah,
For a
which is
week.
usually people stay for a little longer than
Yeah.
just,
So I mean, it's even more work than Airbnb would be for in your home, but you can get into it. I mean,
And in 2 or 3 years, you'd have it paid for sure.
oh yeah,
Yeah.
maybe even faster than that.
Yeah, depending how aggressive you are.
To be fair, though, you're limited to about 7 months out of the year for
Sure.
rentals.
Yes. So we have a guy who's coming this weekend to look at it. But he's got experience, but he kind of doesn't want to take care of an RV anymore. But he's going to come, pick it up, take it to Florida with his family, and then bring it back to us.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Great.
And just like Airbnb, Outdoorsy,
awesome.
and RV Share have insurance policies in place.
Yeah, so if they do damage something, so be it. If I rent it out 50 times, it's paid for.
Right.
And you can do that in a couple of years.
We actually, people like to make fun of us now, like, because we rent out all the things that we own. Like, we got a card last year from new friends who were like, if you even want to rent out this birthday card, you can.
That's funny.
That's awesome.
I think it's interesting. So our last episode, we had a guest. She's an insurance agent, and she was she didn't say it on the episode, but we've talked to her a little bit about Airbnb and short-term stuff. She said there's completely different policies. You can't just have a standard rental policy.
That's correct.
It's a lot different, and you really probably need to have a good conversation with your insurance agent.
Oh yeah,
you're going this route for
you
sure.
actually need better insurance.
Yeah.
Well, you need insurance that knows what you're doing.
Yeah.
And I have a lot of people we consult with, and that's the first question I ask them. It's like, yeah, congratulations, I'll help you figure out how many beds you need and how much to charge, but are you protected? Because Airbnb has a policy, but if your homeowner's insurance policy doesn't know that you're doing short-term rental and something happens, and Airbnb deems it not whatever, like, you need to be protected. And there's right now there's only a few that we know of, and I've done some extensive research that offers.
But you're only paying about 15% more than if you were the homeowner for that type of insurance. It's about 15% more.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Oh, it's a no-brainer. Yeah.
And even after cleaning costs, and you're still paying the utilities where you may not when you're renting it out to a long-term tenant, still 50% more in cash flow it covers it.
Oh yeah, that's awesome.
So are there it sounds like you guys you said earlier, you like the 1 bed, 1 bath, and now you've got a single family home that's probably a little bit bigger than that.
Yep.
And what are you guys expecting? You said in 6 or 8 months that's going to come online. How do you think that's going to go?
3-bedroom, 2.5 bath, with private entertainment space in back. It's going to be more of an experience. And what's really cool is you can get creative with this game. You can rent the space out just during the day. Maybe a photographer wants to do a shoot.
A lot of photographers. If you have a single family home, 100%. Yes.
Maybe you have a baby shower or just a small family event where they don't want to trash the house and they want to have it in a beautifully landscaped private backyard.
Maybe your business team or want to have like a mastermind weekend. Like, you don't have to rely on Airbnb. Is essentially an amazing marketing platform. They only take 3% from the hosts as of right now.
How much?
3%.
Really?
Yeah, fantastic.
Now, I don't know if that's going to change once they go public
Right.
and they keep growing, but right now it's awesome, almost free marketing. So, but there's other things that you can do to market. It's just those larger spaces. And as I mentioned before, Airbnb is getting super competitive. So just to throw a couch and a space and a table isn't really cutting it. So if you can do a theme, if you can be ADA compliant, if you can allow pets, if
you have a church or a train car or
yes.
a unique space that's truly different than the run-of-the-mill hotel room.
Yep. So I actually went and stayed at a guy's, he's a tiny home in his backyard in Pittsburgh. In Pittsburgh, you're allowed to, if it's on wheels, you can rent it for 30 days or less. That's the rule. So he invested $40K in this cute tiny home. And then on the platform, it says, stay in Pittsburgh's only tiny house. And like,
Paid for in 1
who
year.
doesn't want to stay in a tiny house?
Yeah.
Oh, in a year. I mean, I bet you less than a year. Like he's killing the game. He can charge more than we can for our one beds just because of the experience.
Where does he locate it?
He's in city proper, Pittsburgh.
But it's on his land, or
on
it's
his land. Yep.
So just like in his driveway or backyard.
It's in his
or
backyard. He's fenced. His backyard is fenced around the tiny home. So when you pull up right behind the tiny home. He never sees you. You never see him. Once you're in it, you can kind of see in his backyard. But
yeah, we don't even meet half of our guests, although I love it when we do.
Yeah.
But it's just imagine like creating a business that you now have on your asset, an additional business that will add that much value to it. I mean, you're creating not just the cash flow, but you're creating tremendous equity if you want to turn around and sell that.
I have a brother-in-law. Actually, my brother-in-law and my father-in-law have built 2 tiny houses. And now that never occurred to me, so they live in Indiana. I don't know what the rules are there, but I'm going to have the conversation with them. Be interesting to see what they can do it. And they both have, my father-in-law has 100 acres. I'm sure he can locate it somewhere, and it's actually already located in a pretty cool location.
We're happy to help consult on that.
I'm sure.
No, he would do really well. I mean, like, stay in a firehouse, stay in a, lighthouse. Like, those are the things you're thinking about now. Yeah.
So I'm curious, you probably get this question a lot, but like, so what would it cost to furnish like the 1 bed and the 3 bed? Like what would be the average for you to, do the whole thing the way that you guys do it?
We go a little above and beyond on our finishes. So I would say just your furnishing budget without us is going to be around $5,000 to $6,000.
I would say we can do it for 4 or 5.
Yeah.
Yeah. If we can
for a 1-bedroom.
For a 1-bedroom.
Correct.
Yep. So, but you have to remember, we got sleeper sofas so that we can charge extra people who want to stay.
Sure.
Right. And I got performance fabric. So I'm not changing a couch out every year.
The big pieces are going to be new, and the things that you're sleeping and sitting on. But like a lot of the decor, we go to consignment stores and we find all these unique, fun, different items that really kind of make it personalized.
Mm-hmm.
It's not.
Yep, we partner up with a lot of local makers to do some really cool stuff that then we say, hey, if you love this live edge headboard, Kime Lumber down the street, they sell it, you can have it too. So like there's a really cool way to, again, like there's just so many really cool creative opportunities.
If we were to come in and do all the handyman fixes, make sure that your leaky faucet is replaced, the light fixtures are replaced, we'll do like some minor construction work, furnish the whole place, design it, shop for you, do the decor, take professional photos, set up your account, and help get you started on your calendar. Like that can, depending on the square footage and the investment, it varies on certain packages, but you're looking at a few $1,000s for that.
Yeah.
You're going to make it back in 2 months.
You want to be in the long haul though. It's for us. There are other people out there who will do it, much cheaper too. So yeah. But for a single family home, like we just, he had 4 bedrooms, but he had 6 beds, 2 living spaces and a dining room and a few bathrooms.
I think our fee for that was only $5,000, right?
The fee for us, yeah, but I budgeted. I really thought I could do it for like $8,000 to $10,000 if I got really.
So his all-in was about 15.
Okay.
To get started.
And he's going to make that in before the first year's over.
Yeah.
And now he has a furnished house and a functioning business.
That's awesome. Yeah. Brian and I, we've been talking about looking at Airbnbs for the last 6 months or so, just because in the desirable neighborhoods that we're talking about, the cash flow just doesn't make sense for a long-term rental. One of my concerns, and we hit on it a little bit, I guess, is like regulations. For me, that would be a biggest concern, buying a property, and having it as a short-term rental, and then, all the neighbors getting together and saying we don't like this, we're basically going to lobby to have this extinguished. So is that a concern for you guys, or
it's always something that's on our mind. However, if you look at everywhere in the world, a lot of people are going to start following suit, and there's going to be a trend that it's going to start happening. What's happening is not a whole lot. They're putting in like essentially, if you don't screw up, then they're not gonna ding you. But you can get fined. You have to have a license in some places, but a lot of that they're really slow to implement. So I mean, if you're shopping right now for the perfect Airbnb, and there's a different strategy for that as well that we have. We still price it out as if we're doing a long-term tenant.
Always. That's our first exit strategy.
It's still the bigger pockets formula you have for long-term renters because it's a safe, conservative bet. But say we even get into that property, furnish it, run an Airbnb for 2 years, we're already way ahead of the game on that. If they do implement these restrictions, then we have a strategy for that too. And we're also we're buying in better neighborhoods, so there's another exit strategy
Sell the house.
where we can sell the house, and we've already fixed it up, and we can sell it furnished.
This is why too. Like we love small spaces. That might be the city folk in it. It also might be the fact that we've always run small Airbnbs and had great success. At the same time, if you look at a 700 square foot home in German Village. Yeah, it looks great for an Airbnb, but what if German Village decides they no longer want Airbnb? How hard would that be to sell just small space? Like who's our target buyer there, and would they come in at the price that we would need to make sense? So,
the markets are always changing. I think some municipalities might go all in and be like, no, we got to stop this 100%.
Yeah.
And I feel like if that does happen, and it's only happened in a couple places where housing is really a big concern, I feel like after a couple years goes by, people, as property owners, you're going to say, hey, we have rights as property owners to do what we want with the property. There's going to be some back and forth.
Sure.
They're not going to just close the gates.
Sorry.
No, go ahead.
I was just going to say, so we sat through 3 city council meetings here in Columbus, and what we
Sounds
learned
riveting.
was, but actually I met some really cool people there.
And you gave a very inspiring speech.
Nick makes fun of me. I got up there, I was very passionate.
Time's up.
Sarah, time's up, and I just kept going, you guys. When you love something, man, like I have a passion for this. But so I learned that yes, Columbus, right? There's not enough housing. Like we can't keep up with the growth, and that's a real problem. But 1% of the housing here in Columbus are Airbnbs.
Even with a 40% growth rate in Airbnb, you're still there's only a few hundred homes in a city with 2 million, the greater area, 2 million people. It's just not that much of an impact. There's other things that we can do to make the housing market better. And I think actually this is one of them, because Airbnb hosts are really improving their properties. They take pride in what we do. I think it's elevating the neighborhood.
Yes, a good host. There are the bad hosts out there who, God, they way underprice it. So there's no regulation there. So if someone across the street from me is, charging $25 a night with no cleaning fee, and I'm over here like still very affordable under hotel rates,
Abundance mindset.
100%.
I feel like that if you do you and do it right and with good intention.
But as long as you're taking care of the property and your neighbors know what you're doing, and here's my number if there's ever a problem.
And I also think that people who are undercharging, they're gonna eventually be like, this is too much work for me to make the same what I'm
they're
gonna make for a
100%
long-term.
occupancy. Yeah,
I'm gonna make a long-term tenant. I'm just gonna rent it back out and do a long-term lease.
Or raise your rates because you can.
Or raise your game.
Well, think about the tenants that you guys are getting. Like those probably aren't the ones that you guys want anyways, right? I mean, the ones who are going to pay market rent and take care of your property.
Yeah. I think we're pretty conservative in our business, and we try to have multiple exit strategies as well. And I think you've talked about your 2 different kinds of Airbnbs, one where you own it, one where you rent it, and then re-rent it. And so between those two, I mean, as I think about if we ever do it, I almost want to do hey, I want to rent your property and then test the market a little bit, see if we can even figure out how to do it. I don't know, how do you guys feel between those two with respect to just
we build in a
experience?
Contingency for that, and because we're doing our homework and renting those apartments in the right neighborhoods, we haven't had a problem yet. But
I mean, as far as income, do you think they're both about the same, or are you making more with the one you own? Or
obviously we're able to put more money into our property, so the property is being improved, and the value of the property is.
So you're making a couple, a few $100s a month when you're re-renting a landlord's apartment that we signed a lease with. You're making money one way essentially, whereas if you own the property, you're making money 4 different ways. Taxes.
But for us to have the properties that we want, we're not at the point yet. We will. It's going to start snowballing for us soon, but we're not able to buy all the Airbnbs that we want to right now.
Right.
So in the meantime, it really keeps our management skills sharp. I get to do what I love.
It helps us in our consulting business too. I think as our portfolio grows, we'll tone down the our leases, and we'll just own
Sure.
the property.
That's another thing too. Just for your listeners, you don't have to buy Airbnbs downtown. Like you totally can, but competition is fierce, and there's a lot of Airbnbs. If you can be by the airport or in these outskirt areas that are close to shopping and family and
Camping
other
grounds.
schools, camping grounds.
Yeah, actually, that's the fastest growing market right there.
So Forbes did a where's the most profitable place to own an Airbnb, and the number one spot was Akron, Ohio, in the U.S.
You can get a house for $50K, and you can. I mean, I think they said you make your monthly mortgage payment in like
4 days.
4 or 5 days.
So you know what I mean?
That's
Like
crazy.
you don't have to be downtown, the hottest spot. Like it just depends on what your story is.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, I love that you guys came today and shared your experience. I look forward to further interaction with you guys as we both grow our businesses.
Yeah, you guys have a great podcast. Thanks for having us.
Yeah, I have a couple requests. I'd like to get like one tip as far as Airbnb your properties for people who maybe want to get into it or maybe have one or two or something. And then also a tip for social media, because I know you guys are awesome at that, something that, we're working towards as well, but you guys are rock stars at both of those things. So if you guys give us like maybe one tip for each of those. Yeah.
Absolutely. That's my favorite thing. Do you mind if I go?
Go.
Okay. For Airbnb, here's a really good tip. Really good tip. If you are a new host and you've got everything furnished, you think you've got everything you need, you read all the blog posts and what have you, stay in your property before you list it. And then and just pack an overnight bag. And after you stay in it, have a friend stay in it. Say, just pack a bag like you're going to go travel. Pack it fast. Like, don't think too much. And have them stay in it. If they go to they have an Android phone and you've only provided iPhone chargers, that's a problem you need to fix. Did they go to cook and you don't have salt and pepper? That's a great way to like think like a guest before you put it on the market and get, dinged on your review because of something silly.
Yeah, if you or your friend who is pre-staying at the Airbnb,
A truth-telling friend.
if they miss something and one of your new guests say, hey, do you have maybe they're not even your guests, they're probing you and asking questions. Do you guys have a blender? And we don't. The answer is not no. The answer is yes, and I go to the store and I buy a blender.
Absolutely, yeah.
Yes, I think it's my friend here works for the Cameron Mitchell team, and I think that's the slogan is the answer is yes, what's the question? I mean, that's hospitality, and that's what Airbnb really is at its core, is taking care of the guest. And I think you'll be a great host and you'll always rise to the top if the guest is at your core. And then for social media, you want to leave a tip?
Sure. So I hate being on camera, like most people. The majority of people, I mean, this is even uncomfortable for me talking right now. But you have to do it. The future of your business depends on it 100%. You're not going to be relevant if you're not on social media. So everyone's trying to do these polished pictures, these polished videos. We need to hire an editor. We need to do this or do that or have this beautiful backdrop. I disagree. I think that people are looking for authentic.
I agree with that.
They want to see the
want
struggle
behind the scenes. Yeah, they want to relate to you.
They want to see the frustration. I mean, not crazy, but like they be real, and you can't. I'm stuttering in my words right now, and that's okay.
Right.
And that's how it should be. People want to see real life. They want to, because that's who they are. They're real people too.
We're big Simon Sinek fans, and he says people don't buy what you do, they buy why you do it. And I think when you give them behind the scenes, whether you're an Airbnb host or you're a handyman or whatever, like show them like, I'm just here on a Friday night working in QuickBooks. And I can't tell you how many people message me and saying, oh my gosh, that was me last weekend. Like they just feel like I feel your pain. And that's the thing too. So we love Instagram and Facebook. And if you can use the story feature, the feed is great. Still pictures are great, but people love video. Video is where it's at. So get on those stories and put yourself out there.
And also collaborate, because there are people that's the biggest way to grow is you want to find people at your level and just start talking about a subject matter that you both are passionate about, and you're going to grow. And then other people are going to catch wind of that, and you're going to find other people. And as you grow together.
And that's like the podcast, right? Like we're going to share this today.
Absolutely. And
so now we're going to, your viewers will become hopefully our friends, and our friends will become your friends.
For sure.
Awesome.
So how do people get in touch with you?
Yeah. Actually, we're at www.nestrs.com.
Nestrs.
Yeah, because we're hip and cool. We dropped that last E.
Because it wasn't available.
You didn't
Also
need
available.
that E anyways.
And and then you can find our Instagram account there and follow our behind the scenes because it's insane. We're crazy people. But that'd be great.
Awesome. Well, so glad you guys came, and we'll look forward to the next time.
Yeah, thank you.
Thanks so much, guys.
Thanks for having me.